Well, we got a pretty jarring change in the weather coming our way. We just spent a couple of days in the 80s, and now there's a pretty notable spring storm coming our way with snow on local Bay Area peaks and a lot of rain. So with all that in mind, we wanted to take another opportunity to go a little more in depth, spend a little more in time to get you ready for what's coming for this weekend and beyond. I'll show you what happens for spring, at least going ahead a little ways from here in terms of, are there any more storms coming? Because this is pretty impressive for April. Let's get some specifics on the current storm. We can see the center of it sitting out here as we look at Friday afternoon. The real focus for this storm is Saturday. We're going to go into a lot of detail on timing out the rain and amounts and where we should expect some of the heavier rain to fall and how this storm's put together. But Saturday is the main event. If you look at the big spin in the atmosphere, there's so many different ways to visualize this thing. How many times have we seen these beautiful areas of low pressure just come down and park right off the coast? And what this one's going to do, which makes it really fascinating to watch, is now that it's come down to our latitude, it is about to make a 90-degree turn, a sharp left turn, and come right into the bay. Center of that area of low pressure is going to come right overhead. So if we watch it on the big picture, you can see how that area of low pressure spins and then comes right on shore. And right here is kind of the main event from a widespread rainfall standpoint. This is Saturday morning. And we're specifically looking here at like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. But we're going to come back to this. We're going to come in from a much closer view. We're going to slow it down, and I'll time out the rain bands. But I first wanted you to get the overall picture of how the storm's put together so you can kind of see why it's going to behave the way it will throughout the course of the weekend. Because both Saturday and Sunday do have impacts from this, even though Saturday is the main event. After that main line passes, we get into the afternoon. There's the center. Look at the spin. That pretty much comes right overhead. And here's one of the other important time frames. As we get into Saturday evening, we're going to get close enough now, right into the center of this storm, where more of the instability resides and the opportunities for thunderstorms are. And that's where we're going to see a little bit of an uptick from that standpoint. Different kind of rain. The band that came through in the morning was the widespread steady rain. When we get here towards the early evening on Saturday, this is where it's more isolated, pop-up, showers, and occasional thunderstorms mixed in. That's Saturday night. Then the center of the system goes south, and there's one last little issue here, Sunday. We got to keep rain in the forecast on Sunday, but you can see how Sunday showers, they're not going to be much. They're just going to kind of be like the stragglers, the follow-ups that come through. Sunday's a much better day if you are trying to plan your weekend. And again, more on that in a second. Here's what it looks like on the big picture. This thing's going to bring a lot of rain to the Central Coast. Look at the rainfall totals on there for Big Sur, 2.25. And we've been showing so many dramatic pictures of where the road has given way there. And they're about to get pounded once again. So Big Sur, no stranger to impactful rain events, but this one actually kind of has it in for them. And if you look at the rainfall and then transition to the snow, this is not really that big of an issue for snow. We're not really going to get a whole lot out of this one. We'll get some. If you look at the totals on here, it'll be like half a foot maybe on Donner Pass at most. They don't even have a winter weather watch or a warning or any of that. But there is a winter weather advisory for much of the Central Sierra. For I-80 and Highway 50, if you got to take that drive, snow level gets down to like 4,000 feet. But they should not have to close the passes, and you're going to need chains. You certainly will need chains with that, but it shouldn't be too hectic. The other way of looking at this storm, if we're going to color in where the winter weather advisory is to just color in one other unique aspect to it. This is for Saturday, and the Storm Prediction Center has once again colored in the bay for having a small 10 to 20% chance of isolated thunderstorms. And that's that Saturday evening time frame we were looking at. Let's put the forecast imagery on here and let's get specific on this. Now that we've kind of seen how this storm is put together on the big picture, here's how it comes to your part of the bay or Northern California in general, depending on where you're watching from. Look at the timestamp up there. 2:30 in the morning, we're starting to see the leading edge of the rain come on. And then we get into like the 4 o'clock hour. This is what we were looking at the big picture. That's really kind of the most impressive time frame. But it goes for a few hours through the morning. 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. By the time we get to 6 and 7 o'clock in the morning, that main band of rain should be moving off towards the east. Doesn't mean the rain's going to turn off completely at that point. But the most organized line is moving on. Look what happens on Mount Hamilton right there. We're going to get a little bit of snow. It's not a blockbuster snowmaker, but this one does bring snow levels down to around 3,000 feet. So if that's kind of the morning event, look at this opening right here. That gets us into Saturday, 10 a.m. And it's kind of like that same head fake where you get the steady rain in the morning. Then you get this break and a clearing. You might even see a few patches of clear sky here, but not a whole lot. But it could easily give anybody the impression that, oh, that's done. But it's only phase 1. So we'll look ahead to phase 2 here. Here come the scattered showers. See the rotation out there? Center of the system coming in. Isolated thunderstorms. Look at the time, 6 o'clock. So this is not exactly 6, but it's more focused around that very late afternoon, early evening. This crop of more intense rain shows up. Shouldn't be too overwhelming. It shouldn't last too long either. By the time we've gotten to midnight, the focus for that's already moving south. And then we get another break until those last stragglers show up from the north. And you can see what those look like. Watch it right in the middle of the day on Sunday. There's not a lot there. So Sunday is going to be real salvageable if you've got something outdoors you really want to do. I think for the most part, Sunday is going to be okay. We're just going to keep an eye on that last little band of rain that comes through and stay on top of the forecast with us throughout the weekend, and we'll have more specifics. We'll even be able to refine that down in timing and intensity for Sunday, but most of Sunday, you're fine. All right, if we look at rainfall totals, it's pretty good for April to come through here. Look at the rainfall total, say, for San Francisco, a little less than an inch, San Jose, a little less than an inch. So this is a decent amount of rain. And one way of thinking about this is, for those 2 days, these rainfall totals in general, for San Francisco specifically, but for the Bay in general, that's like 75% of what the average amount would be for the entire month of April anyway. And when we get into this time of year, that's kind of typical. We're not going to get too many rainmakers coming through here right now. So, I mean, this kind of falls right in line with what you would expect. This is not all that out of the ordinary for us for April. And there's one more look at the system, because I want you to see the rotation. And now we're going to change the way we visualize this, and we're going to fill that in with what the air temperatures are like. And this is the dramatic visual, which is really one of the more interesting aspects of this storm. Remember, we were doing the 80s, going back to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Here comes that big wall of cold air, which brings our daytime highs to the upper 50s for Saturday. That's going to be a real dramatic turnaround. To go from 80 degrees on Thursday to a light dusting of snow on Mount Hamilton Saturday morning is really one of the standout features of this system. It's not a lot, and most of that comes Saturday late morning. Like in that, when that organized line marches across the bay late morning, as it passes over that part of the Diablo Range between, say, like 5 a.m., 8 a.m., that's when this is most likely to fall. We're going to get a little more up in the north, too. If we look at the North Bay, most of this is falling for Mendocino County. You can see Mount St. Helena gets there. Mount Tam is just low enough. There is a little patch of light blue on there. We might get a little light snow there. And then that's it. Well, I'll show you the 7-day forecast in a second. We're going to get a nice warm-up. By the middle of next week, some inland spots will be back in the 80s. But having just been through this very dramatic turn, if the question is on your mind, is this the last one, or are there more coming? Well, we can answer that question by going to the long-range model and just letting this play out for at least the next 10 days. Watch the date. Watch us here. We really don't get anything. And we just let that play all the way through April 22nd. So at least from now through April 22nd, pretty safe bet. There's nothing else coming. Here's another way to visualize it. Where is it going to rain where you can measure it from now through then? And we do kind of find ourselves in a little hole there, where there's plenty of storms getting pushed up and over us, and we're not really getting in on the act there. So there's your long-range view. Saturday is going to be a first alert day, not only for the steady rain in the morning, but also for those isolated thunderstorms which are going to come through, particularly in the evening. Notice what we've got here on Sunday. Like Oakland, you got a chance of showers. San Francisco necessarily didn't. That's the way Sunday will likely go. And then look at the warm-up back there. 72-degree day in the city by Wednesday. So you know we're going to be doing warmer numbers than that. If we pull out some of our microclimates, North Bay and South Bay comparison, we are going back to the low 80s in San Jose by Wednesday and Thursday. Going to be a busy weekend. We're going to be tracking the updates on the forecast throughout the evening tonight. And of course, we'll be doing our usual complement of forecasts over the weekend as well as this storm comes in. So you can check in with us there live for updates. And thanks for checking in on this one here as well.